but either how they grew up, how they view culture, how their culture is different, because you have a lot of different cultures in America. And sometimes it's just not the comfortable thing to step into another room where you don't understand the thought process, the mannerisms, the language, the previous ideas that might already exist in different communities. Secondarily, political consultants are terrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Political consultants will look at voters as just numbers. Oh yeah, this ain't gonna work. As just numbers, but not as people.
Right.
And I think that it's an investment of time and energy and then dollars to go into communities that typically don't vote for you. Where Wesley and I differ is, before anything else, we're Americans by birth. We're also black men by birth.
Absolutely.
And so for us to talk to black people about what the opportunities that can come from a Republican agenda, we have no problem talking about that. Because before we got on the platform, we had those conversations in private.
All the time.
Now it's just coming out in public.
Okay. Do we have, how many mics do we have? We're working on the others. Okay. So this is the only one right now. So we're gonna make do with it as we can. Okay, Wesley. I've always thought it was really common sense. I gotta tell you something though. For those of you who don't know, I covered the NFL for many, many years. And I was doing a game in St. Louis. Maybe it was Kansas City. I can't remember. Those two are kind of close. But I was being driven to the airport by this gentleman, happened to be black, and we got to talking. And I didn't even bring it up. We just got to talk. And he said, I came to the conclusion, I'm a conservative. I said, really? He said, yeah, I want this, that, I want public safety, I want wealth, I want a good economy. So why do you think, Wesley, the Democrat Party has had such a hold on the black community for so long?
That is the question that we have to answer basically every single day as being free thinkers that are black men. And Byron and I have talked about this extensively. My parents grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. My dad is 75 years old. My mom is 74 years old. Don't tell her I told you that, though. They went to Southern University. They went to Historically Black College University. That's where they met. They were born and raised in a segregated South in New Orleans. My dad was born in 1949. Mom was born in 1950. They never spent a single day with a white person in college from kindergarten through college. They were married to the Democrat Party at that time. And at that time, it made sense where the country was, where we were politically, where we were as a society. It made a lot of sense. But in that time, a lot has changed since then. My dad's dad, my great-great-grandfather, was a slave. He was born on Rosedown Plantation. Now, his great-great-grandchild, me, and not just me, but my brother and my sister, all three of us, went to West Point. We all graduated from West Point. We all served our country. In a handful of generations, this country has made the kind of growth that the world has never seen. But we as a culture have not been able to catch up with that from a political standpoint. This is not 1964. This is 2024. Do you know when the best time it is to be black in America? Right now. Tomorrow. My father would always tell me, son, you don't have it difficult. I had it difficult. So, Michelle, you are spot on. The issues that we are talking about, border security, a good economy, building generational wealth, being able to put gas in our car, being able to afford day to day, groceries, living. We were better off under Republicans than we were Democrats. But the reason why the Democrats have a hold on the black community is because our parents keep telling us, you gotta vote Democrat. You gotta vote Democrat. But then it's up to us in this generation to say, well, why? Now, I understand the past. I am very well aware of it. But we don't live there anymore. Byron Byron and I both represent white majority districts. Can you believe that? White majority districts. My district, President Trump would have won by about 20 points. I won my district by almost 30 points, running against 9 white guys in the primary and a white Democrat that I beat by 30 points. Hold on. We're here because a lot of white folks voted for us. Why? Because we share their ideals. They don't care that we're black. They want border security. They want low inflation. They want a better America. And that's why we're here. This is the message we have to give to the black community, because guess what? Our issues are American issues.
I think I resurrected this one. Only thing I'm gonna add to what you said was, you beat 9 dudes in the primary. I beat 9 dudes in the primary. And you already know, typically in Republican primaries, and it's not a disrespect thing, it's just a reality thing. You know what I think it is? I think the TV might be interfering, but it's all good. So I'm gonna slide a little bit. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do something like that. But I think one of the things that your point is 100% right, Wesley. People care about your ideas. They care about your value set. If those two things measure up and mirror up, I can get along with a black man, a black woman. I can get along with a white man and a white woman. I can get along with a Spanish man and a Spanish woman, because our values and our ideas line up.
Yeah, that's all. It is about values. You said that, what gets in the way, it's part of it is the great grandparents and the grandparents saying you got to vote Democrat. It's also, it's people like Whoopi Goldberg and Al Sharpton. And, I had the, I'm sorry. I had the pleasure. I had the pleasure of appearing on The View several times, and it was tough because really a few of those women are hell bent on, no, America is irredeemably racist, and people like Wesley Hunt and Byron Donaldson and Tim Scott are simply exceptions. Well, I would say Whoopi Goldberg's an exception too. She's a really wealthy black woman. So why are they just so intent on suggesting that anyone who goes along with the Republican Party is either an Uncle Tom or a mouthpiece? They use the worst terminology, and Whoopi is hanging on to this and influencing, I'm afraid, a lot of people who watch that show and just trust that because Whoopi did a bunch of movies and she's funny, that she knows the truth. How do we get around that?
Ooh, let me talk about this one. See, I got it in my office. I have a picture, and the picture in my office is right above my desk. Is the Mamba mentality. Shout to Kobe, God rest his soul. And it's really about, if people are hating on you, you're doing a good thing.
Right.
That means you're doing it right. Because if everybody loves you, that means you're not doing anything.
That's right.
Now, real quick to The View, the funniest thing that happened to me the other day, Michelle? Sonny Hostin followed me on X.
Wow.
I felt like I made it. I was like, Sonny following me?
Mama, I made it.
The heat's gonna come extra hard now. But look, first of all, they get paid to be that way. So they're extra on TV because they're paid to be extra on TV. That's number one. Number two, if Whoopi or Sonny or whoever is bringing that level of heat and vitriol, I'm not running from it. I'm welcoming it. Because if they're acting this way about black men and black people starting to lean Republican, what it tells me is that they're scared.
Absolutely.
And when you tell me that you're scared, all that means is dig in more, fight more, grind more. Because the second I know you're scared, that means I got you. So I'm gonna go back. Listen, Kobe Bryant was my favorite player of all time. Loved him. He's my favorite player of all time. Mike is the GOAT. I give it to Mike. He's the GOAT. But Kobe's my favorite. The Mamba, when he knew he had you, he didn't say, "Oh, I got him. Okay, let me go sit on the bench now." He was like, "Phil, let me in the game. I'm gonna go get everything." And I think that as a black man who's also conservative, who is also an American. I'm not just gonna sit back because Whoopi's throwing vitriol, or Sonny's throwing vitriol, or what's the dude in the dashiki name, the bald dude? I guess it don't matter because I forgot his name too. Roland Martin.
Oh, Roland Martin.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness.
If Roland is throwing shade, I say, come, bring it.
Yeah.
Bring it. I'm here. Like I'm not. First of all, Michelle, back up. Let me tell you a little bit about my history. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Crown Heights, Brooklyn, in the 90s. Unless you're gonna walk up to me directly and cause me bodily harm, I don't see you. And that's not to be antagonistic. That's to say that I'm gonna stand on what I believe in and I'm gonna push forward for what I want to do. I'm not gonna be afraid of that because I understand there's a lot of people in our country, a lot of black people in our country who know something is wrong. They just don't know where to look. And I'm gonna give them a place to look.
Look right here. These two.
And I also want to push back
I
on
love
this
Dr.
narrative.
J.
I want to push back on this narrative.
That's the GOAT,
Byron and I
the
care
real GOAT.
so much about the black community more than you could ever imagine. Because we have black parents, we have black mamas. I got a black daddy. I mean, this is not us being Republican because we want to turn our backs on our people. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Actually, it's to the contrary. And so Whoopi Goldberg and that group and The View, it's actually insulting to me and it's very personal to me because what I believe is, I believe in black excellence no matter what it is. So if you mean to tell me that we have a two-party system in this country, and you mean to tell me that every single black person has to be on one side of the aisle, that's half the country, and wait, you don't want any black people on the other side of the aisle?
Right.
We are now relinquishing half of this country to not having our opinions in the room.
Gotta be strategic.
That's the most ridiculous thing I could ever imagine in my entire life. And that goes for us, this goes for Clarence Thomas, this goes for people that have actually done a lot in this country to be one of 435 people representing this country. And even though we're Republicans, we've been black for a combined over 80 years. about as old as Joe Biden is actually combined. And what we want to do is talk about these issues, but also bring a sense of nuance to our party. And that's exactly what we do. And so whenever you might see black people throw vitriol at us, I want you to defend us. And I want you to say, you know what, maybe we don't agree on everything politically. But let me tell you something, these brothers actually do care about us because they're actually going to the community to talk to black people that may not support us politically, but at least we're having the conversation. And that's all we want to do is have the conversation.
So let's converse about a few issues then, because I think some of these are pretty damn universal. Like, first of all, I think whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, whether you're pro-Israel, whatever, the number one thing that matters for all of us is to feel safe and protected. And it seems to me that government's number one priority is public safety. That means you get to walk down the street without feeling afraid. That means you get to go in a store without having your head on a swivel thinking it's going to get robbed. That means that people who do commit crimes are held accountable for those crimes. And that to me would seem to, no pun intended, trump everything else, because without public safety, how are you going to make your way to church of your choice? How are you going to make your way to the grocery store to buy your stuff? How are you going to make it to a clinic to get, health care? Without public safety, the rest kind of crumbles. Am I wrong on that?
You are correct.
You 100% right. Real quick pause for the show to continue. I know the name is Congress Cognac and Cigars, and I finished my tequila. But you know what? I'm gonna go along with the program. So if somebody got a glass of Hennessy in the back, bring that to the stage. Now let's get it.
He's a man of his word.
He's a man of his word.
Okay, now one quick point, and I'm gonna come to safety. Because you mentioned at the top, and it's important, you gotta get there. Abortion is not the issue that you can actually build wealth and become better in the United States of America.
That part.
Amen.
That part.
I'm not talking pro-life, pro-choice. I'm not talking what your personal views are. I'm pro-life. But what I'm saying is, is if you treat abortion as the end all be all for your political views, then you have given up every opportunity to excel in this country to
That's
people
right.
who do not know you and do not care about you.
Amen. That is so spot on.
Now, to public safety. Listen, man, when they try to do that stupid defund the police thing, the first thing I said was, well, that's dumb.
Right?
Because the number one people that are going to be victimized in victimized in their community are going to be black people.
That's right.
I grew up in I said it before. Ed Koch was my mayor. David Dinkins was my mayor. Rudy Giuliani was my mayor. Ed and David did not make sure the streets was safe. Rudy turned the NYPD temperature up to make sure the streets were safe.
I remember that.
And look, as a young kid in New York City, I didn't like when Rudy turned up and, oh, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Oh, he brought it to me neat. This man knows something. Okay. He brought it to me neat. He knows something. When Rudy turned up the heat of the NYPD in New York, stopping, frisking, everything. As a young kid in New York, we did not like it. I'm gonna be straight with you. We did not like it. But you also understood that walking the streets of New York, it was a way safer environment than when David Dinkins was mayor and when Ed Koch was mayor. Because you can't go to school if you don't feel safe. You can't run a business if you don't feel safe. And if you can't do those two things, how are you going to excel for yourself and for your family? Public safety is the beginning of everything. And now we got these crazy DAs. I'm not gonna. Listen. Alvin Bragg might come up. I'm gonna talk about him. I'm not gonna get into it right now. But the tragedy of what's happened in New York
He's a disgrace.
is that he is ignoring violent crime and disruptive crime to get his political rival. That doesn't help the people of New York feel safe. That's not helping business owners thrive and succeed. And so if you're trying to have a successful life, you as an individual, it starts with policing. It starts with holding people accountable. Look, life is a very simple situation. I got 3 sons. They're all teenagers and up. If you don't hold them accountable, they run amok.
They do.
And those are my sons, and that's how I talk about it. If you don't hold people accountable, you're not going to have a safe community for people to be able to thrive in an economy and excel and be their best selves. This is common sense stuff. But the Democrats are crazy. So we have to bring the common sense to everybody in blue cities, which is why we're here in Philly, and I'm about to get my Hennessy.
And when we talk about safety, when we talk about our communities, we are not talking about nonviolent crimes. We're talking about locking up criminals that want to kill every last one of us. That's what we're talking about. So what we're not talking about is a 94 crime bill that was authored by Joe Biden. We are not talking about is the petty marijuana counts that Kamala Harris locked up more black men in California for than any of the entire country. See, these are the leaders of the Democrat Party. We are not talking about if you don't vote for me, that you ain't black, Joe Biden. These are the kind of things that I want to bring to the attention of the black community. The person that's currently our president, if you want to talk about racism, and if you want to talk about targeting the black community, this is the man that passed legislation to lock up black people for the exact same crime as white people in 1994. It differentiated because of cocaine versus crack. Let's talk about racism here. And so what you're talking about keeping it safe, Michelle, keeping us safe, this is what we want. We actually need more police in our communities. When I talk to the black community down in Houston, 3rd Ward, 5th Ward, and I talk to grandma, she's like, no, I want that parole officer going by every other day. That's what I want every day. I want to see that cop car drive by. It means that I am safer. So don't let Democrats tell you that Republicans are the ones that want to lock up black folks. No. That was actually Joe Biden back in 1994. Let's be clear about something. That was Kamala Harris back in the 2000s. Let's be clear about something. So President Trump, with prison reform, what is he doing? Undoing the ills of the 94 crime bill. Isn't that interesting?
How about that?
Isn't that interesting? The person that disproportionately locked up black people because of the 94 crime bill is running against the man that had prison reform to undo the ills of his past.
First step.
And we are calling Trump the racist.
Right?
What a shame.
Boom. How many people in this room are undecided about the presidential election and whom they will vote for? Wow, not one person is. Are you afraid to raise your hand? No one undecided. I know. Okay, let me ask you this. How many of you, after the verdict last week, jumped online and donated to Donald Trump?
Well, there's that.
Twice. Not everyone, but a lot of you. This is an amazing dynamic, gentlemen. They were craving labeling Trump a convicted felon. Now they got it. And $200 million later, Trump has all this money now to campaign with. And he's looked at, he walks into a UFC fight and gets a standing ovation, and everywhere he goes, he draws crowds. How bad a misfire was this, Byron?
Oh, they're stupid.
Real dumb.
They're dumb.
Real dumb.
Let's point out a couple things. First of all, Americans know when something don't smell right.
Well,
Black people in particular, we really know when something doesn't smell right. We know it when we see it. And so what they have tried to do, they've tried to like dismantle and marginalize, talk about, defame, now criminalize Donald Trump. But the thing about him, knowing him, Wesley knows him, he thrives on you coming at him. He's not a flower. He's not going to be like, oh, they don't like me, let me go back to Mar-a-Lago. No, he's like, oh, you don't like me? Well, come on, let's sit down and talk. Oh, you really don't like me? Well, then you know what? Maybe I don't like you. And that's the way he is. That's his mentality. The reason why a lot of people call him like, the poor man's billionaire. Because even though he's a very wealthy man, his mentality is a kid from New York coming up trying to learn business and learn construction, learning the grind, learning people, understanding how to work with people. So what they've done has been a complete miscalculation, because their assumption is that Americans will say, oh my gosh, this is offensive. But the whole country's going to hell anyway. So people are like, well, wait a minute, dude. The country's a mess, and all of you guys are talking about is him? Really? You know what? Maybe he's right. And that's what's happening with a lot of people in our country.
Let me point you in a direction, Wesley. So, I hear people say things like, we're all in a cult if we support Trump. And if we see Trump as if we're cult, like we're a cult. And that he will, if he wins, he will never leave the White House. And democracy as we know it will be over. I mean, I've had serious people say this to, like, I think they're like well-educated professional people say this to me, and I'm thinking, who's cult? Who's in the cult here? What? So how would you answer people who have this fear, which I think is hugely unfounded, of this guy being a dictator on day one? They all like to say.
That was Robert De Niro in front of the courthouse that said that. Again, that's absurd language, and Byron touched on this. He is doing this not because he has to do this, because he's a billionaire. We have been to Mar-a-Lago. It's really nice. We have been on his plane together, actually. It's a really nice plane. It's a really nice plane. He doesn't have to do this, and the reason why people want to call us cults is because Democrats are very good at labeling us and making us look like we're the crazy ones, but essentially we're not, and then they have to square this up. You see, they have to realize what they just did. Joe Biden was actually supposed to speak after that verdict came out, and then he didn't, and then 200 million reasons later, everyone's looking around there saying, oh, maybe we didn't get this right, because America is realizing that you were right, Byron. This doesn't smell right. This doesn't seem right. And the reason why we are supporting President Trump is because we realize that this is the person that could bring us back from the brink of utter disaster on day one.
Okay.
We can't find the bathroom. We don't need on-the-job training. We need to right this ship and get this headed in the right direction like yesterday.
That's right.
And that's why we're supporting it.
Hey, listen, the only other thing I'm going to add to that is, he's never going to leave the White House. Now look at these people like they're stupid.
He left the White House.
They
He
are
already
stupid.
left the White House once.
He left the White House.
January 20th.
He left the White House.
This time he won't. He'll barricade himself.
This time he won't.
Yeah, this time he won't.
Oh, these people so stupid.
I
They so dumb.
I mean, don't you kind of feel insulted that they think we're stupid enough to buy this crap? That's what astounds me when I listen to this. Really? So, okay, we've talked a lot about black men changing this election potentially. There are a lot of women sitting here tonight, which is great.
I see that.
What about, why is there that big of a gap between black women and black men in the way they see politics in this election?
I think so. Because you gotta understand, first of all, there's a difference between men and women anyway.
Oh, there is.
No, there's not.
You mean
No.
what I'm saying? You mean
No. I go by they, them, JJ. Those are my, what are your pronouns? No, you know what? Thank you for saying that.
Everybody laugh. There's a difference between men and women anyway. Men are made and men have been created by God to be conquerors, to be hunters. That's who they are. And so a man in today's America, a black man in today's America is looking around and saying, how can I go hunt for my people and hunt for my family and hunt for the woman I might choose to marry in the future or hunt for the kids I'm going to have? They're looking at what Joe Biden has done. They're saying, I can't hunt. You took my spear. You took my bow. I can't get anything. So I don't want to do this. I think for black women, it's not reported. There is a shift amongst black women.
Agreed.
Because black women are looking around, they're saying something to themselves right now. They're saying, now wait a minute. You trying to tell me that the black boy, whether you married or not, let's call a spade, let's talk on it. Whether you're married or not, black women are looking at their sons and saying,